Nate, Dan, welcome to the show. So good to have you guys here. Excited to talk about all things local and what you guys are doing to build brands here in our home state of Indiana. So again, truly appreciate it. Nate, we'll start with you.
Oh boy.
What do you love about Indiana? Why has it made such an impact on you?
Oh man. Okay, so what I love about Indiana and when I think about all the fun content I get to put out is that Indiana rewards effort and creativity. Right, so you live in Denver, you live in California, you live on the coast somewhere. So you just look out and you're like, okay, I'm supposed to be in the mountains, right? It's pretty obvious. I'm supposed to be at the beach. It's pretty obvious. Indiana, you look out and it's like, there's this blank canvas of what you can do. So everyone's constant battle is there's nothing to do here. Like there is plenty to do here. It just takes a little bit of effort and creativity, and that's what I love about it. Like I grew up in a town of 1,200 people. So it was like, you had to get creative about what you and your friends did for fun, whether it was, like, I don't know, from like cow tipping or hanging out at the local Walmart or, all the silly things we would do. Like anything with a small engine, we would just like turn into a dirt bike and try to drive through the mud or do all sorts of crazy stuff. So I love the fact that it rewards, again, creativity and effort.
I love it. Dan, you love all things local. You love all of our college teams. You always have the best picks on local dive bars. You're really invested in mentoring the next work. The next generation of entrepreneurs here in Indiana. Where does your love of Indiana and Indy come from?
Yeah, I mean, it just starts with, like Nate said, people. Yeah. I can't think of a better place to raise my family. I can't think of a better place to start a company because people are helpful. Like Hoosiers genuinely, I feel like more so than anywhere else I've been, want to help. And if you make an authentic ask for help, people want to give it to you. And I'm more like I thrive on if I see somebody that's like wanting to be an entrepreneur. There's nothing I want to do more than help that person, almost to the detriment of like whatever I'm working on.
Sure.
So just trying to throttle that. But I think just the helpful spirit of the Hoosiers, man.
So you mentioned building businesses and helping entrepreneurs. What led you into a career as an entrepreneur and entrepreneurism?
Well, my dad started the mailroom of an insurance company and retired at a large insurance company, many years later. But he was awesome, super encouraging, knew I was sort of an idiot and I didn't make a very good employee. And so coming out of IU, I was an entrepreneurship major at IU. Dr. K came into the Johnson Center for Entrepreneurship after I came. So when I came, it was like just getting started, which was super fun, and we got to kind of make up our own stuff like you would as an entrepreneur. And then I got really lucky going through Kelley School of Business and just interviewing with all these giant companies. I told my dad, I think I'm just going to join the smallest company I can find. And I came across two guys that were working out of their basement in Broad Ripple, Ryan Hasbrook and Jeff Wives, and they were building something called 811 Group. Today, at the time, it was just them and me, and now they're, a couple 4-story buildings in Broad Ripple, and I got a front row seat to seeing how the sausage was made.
That's great. What are challenges facing entrepreneurs today? With the rise of AI, maybe that's a positive. Certainly, economic conditions go up and down. Tech has had a bit of a spotty period, especially starting companies the last several years after it was a very successful time to start a company. So what challenges are they facing? And then part 2 of that, as you're meeting with new entrepreneurs who have a big dream and a big vision, but maybe just need that little push in terms of getting the courage to move forward, how are you coaching them?
Yeah, it's a fascinating time. And as I get older, I'm not sure a lot of things have changed. You're just more aware and you've talked to more people. So I love the entrepreneur that wants to do something unsexy that may not be and so you're driving around and you might be seeing a guy in a pickup truck or a gal in a, very modest office. And they have some of the most successful businesses I've seen. So I think with the rise of AI, you don't have to be an engineer anymore. Low code, no code stuff is out there. I don't pretend to know how to do any of that. I was really lucky to start in recruiting, so I could always recruit the people that knew how to do the things I didn't know how to do. And so now I think you can fuel a small company with much less investment, and you can either build an unsexy services business that's tech-enabled. There's all kinds of tech entrepreneurs that are looking to get outside of tech and want real ownership and real businesses. And it's not, I don't think that anything has changed dramatically in the entrepreneurial journey. It's just that it's the barriers to starting a business might be lower than ever. And so it's just about how do you jump off the cliff and just go.
I mean, is that how you're coaching the young entrepreneurs you work with who, like, again, have this big idea, this big dream, but, you know, this is a big investment and it may not pay off? Like, how do you help them find that courage?
It's just start doing it.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything. You could build a slide deck. You could talk about your idea. You could find somebody on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'd just like to talk for 10 minutes. Could I call you? I'm thinking about starting this company. And the further you get along on that journey, the less risky it seems.
Dan was the one, he was like my final conversation before I quit and went out on my own. It was like, talking to him was like, dude, you know, like 50 grand a year isn't that hard to find. Like you can go out and find a thing to sell, like whatever your product, service, whatever it is, you have 50 grand worth of talent to make the money, right? Like, and then you can live off that. And like walk me through not just like how to, like the X's and O's of like growing the business, that's a piece of it, but the actual like, willingness to take the risk and to actually do it and to bet on yourself. I remember we were sitting at Java House and he like walked me through. He was like, well, what's your mortgage? And we talked like through like, oh, like well, I really only need like $2 grand to live on a month, like worst case scenario, like do the back of the napkin math, like, oh, we can find, like, you could have, you know, 50 grand of marketing customers in a day if that's what you wanted to do. And it wasn't what it's not what I want to do, but like just like the courage of like, oh, you can do this. And being a mentor of someone who's done it before, he's great at that. So that was like how he coached me, was just to like look at the whole thing and don't think so much in just worst case scenarios and the fear, and just be like, oh, it's actually not that hard. It's
you
not
can always
that
go get a job.
Yeah.
Just bet, if you really want to do it, just bet on yourself.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was awesome. Like I still remember it, and I think within a month after that conversation, I had like gone off on my own.
There you go. Great advice. Bet on yourself. I really like that.
Amen.
Nate, you're a community builder. You love meeting people, connecting founders, connecting brands. You do it with a ton of energy and a ton of excitement as well. It's very authentic. Where did this drive come from? Where do you find this energy to be truly inspired to connect people and help people?
Oh man, it's kind of like the old adage of like Christmas, right? It's like when you get 100 gifts, it's like, whatever, you know, like you don't really appreciate any of them that much. But when you give the perfect gift to someone and you like see their face light up and they really love it, you feel really good. Like I love being able to like connect the brands or the people. Like one, for instance, it's like when we had the founder of Sun King, Clay, on the podcast, and he talked about how much he loved paddleboarding the White River. And so we made a video and put it out there. And then like 2 weeks later, I see that they have a collaboration together, and it's helping. And Frank's is a super small business, Frank's Paddle Sport Livery. They're super small and obviously seasonal. And seeing a brand like Sun King then have a partnership with them, it's just cool.
It makes
to
a
see.
Big difference.
Yeah,
for
they're
Frank.
getting 200, 300,000 views on their social media content, and before they were getting like 12. Yeah. So it's like cool to see that come to fruition. Like when you make the introduction and someone gets hired, or when you make the introduction and someone raises a round of funding, like just different things like that. And seeing that come to life, it's kind of like that Christmas morning when you give someone the right
You are
gift.
like the ultimate connector. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's, I think that's the thing. It's like, how can you help? I think you have a help first.
And that's
mantra.
100%. Like I don't know where it came from. I mean, I just working with PowderKeg and Matt Hunkler. Like he was also very much that way of how can I make the right introduction and put like this good energy out into the world. Because one day if comes a time where like I need something, I can go to these people and say like, hey, here's I have a favor. Like, could you help me with X, Y, or Z thing? But I'm just trying to like go out and do as much good as possible, and then kind of like have that credit built up, because in case one day I need a favor or something, I might be able to ask someone for help, and they'll be willing to help me.
Which is totally true when you're building a brand. I mean, you're building your company, you're off your personal brand, and you're building your podcast off that, right? It's authentic, It's connected to who you are, it's who you want to be. And I think that's sort of the key is like, man, if you can help first as a brand, as a person, then it helps your company, and it fuels your company. If you help first as a company, then man, you can do a lot of cool things with as you get.
Exactly. And there's like, I mean, there's so many of these where like a lot of it you just do the right thing, make the connection, build the community, put the people together, and you don't expect anything ever in return. And it's like, that's fine. There's like this, I mean, if you're believing in the higher power that, you know, put good karma out into the world and good karma is going to come back your way, and it has not failed me.
And sometimes it doesn't, right? And
it's really hard. It doesn't come back in the way in which you think.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? It always comes back in some way, at least for me it has, but it might not always be the way in which you think, where it's like, oh, if I do this, then this thing's going to happen. But it might open the door down the road road, like later on, where the right thing will happen. I know that sounds very fluffy, and it is, but it's true.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with all of that. And it's really important to me whenever I get a request from a college student or a recent grad or an organization within IU or Purdue, hey, can our students come in and talk to you? Hey, can you go grab a coffee with me? I want to learn more about the industry and what you can do. And I think that's really important. I think it's just really good for the industry. I think it's important in terms of building the next level of the talent pipeline. And I try my best to always offer them 3 or 4 more connections. Like, here's a guy I know at this agency or this brand. And I just think it's really important for all of us who have some experience and some ability to help and connect people to continue doing that.
Yeah, and I think it's like rewarding whether it's the student or the people that you see putting the effort in, right? If they're like going through to find on LinkedIn and not just like the general message.
I will say, like, it's hard because as Justin and I are old with kids, like your time is like constrained. And you want to help, and you want to do all these things. So like putting it back. Like what I always say is, hey, here's 3 people that I think you might find interesting. Check them out on LinkedIn, and if you want an intro, let me know. Because if somebody's willing to do a little bit of work on their own and then follow up and do that, right? Like, it's really hard to like give your time while you're trying to grow a company and raise a family.
Yeah.
And so it's just trying to find that balance and reward the people that do the work.
Yeah, exactly. And like, give them if you just hit me with the general like, hey, you look cool, let's get coffee, like, probably not gonna make it happen. But if they go a little bit of, I saw your interview with this, or I saw you do this or that, like, hey, like, I'd love to learn more about this thing, then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'll make time for you, 100%, for sure.
Nate, you mentioned Matt and PowderKeg. You spent several years there. For those who don't know, PowderKeg is an organization, again, really dedicated to connecting founders and just bringing a lot of positive energy to the tech scene and helping people grow here in Indiana and in other markets as well. You've recently left PowderKeg, doing your own thing. You've created a new company called Get Indiana, where you're a content creator and doing great things there. Tell us a little bit about Get Indiana and what you're doing there.
It is my like modern take on Indiana news and media. And like the whole ethos behind it is to combat there's nothing to do in Indiana, Indiana's boring, why would I ever want to live here? Like, and so I go out and build content and interview Hoosiers that are doing incredible things. I work with incredible partners that have a footprint here in Indiana to just build content to inspire other Hoosiers that you can go and do these big things no matter where you live at. Kind of like my take, I guess, on pure Michigan, right? Where it's like, I want to build this Hoosier culture of just excellent, because there are amazing things going on here. And it isn't, back to kind of the original point that I think I said, it isn't as easy as just looking up in the sky, seeing a mountain, and knowing to go do that. But if there's this guy running 31 miles on the Monon Trail to encourage you to run a 5K, sweet, right? There's this guy waking up and getting to the Indy 500 at 10 p.m. the night before to encourage you to go just try out the race. Like, those are the kind of things where I take the Mr. Beast kind of approach to building content to inspire people to do it on a normal level.
You do a great job of connecting the dots with what you're interested. Like, he had a dude that broke the Guinness Book of World Record thing for running a marathon with a pizza.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you find interesting ways that are unique, that are not boring.
And like, there's all
who you
sorts
are
of
with
cool
that.
stuff like this going on all the time.
Yeah.
Like, in my DMs and my email, I get like, hey, check this thing out, check this thing out. And there are amazing stories of Hoosiers doing really, really cool things. And they don't always get in traditional media, they don't always get the same amount of love. And I don't want it, like, my goal is not to be a journalist or anything like that. I just want to tell inspiring stories about Hoosiers and be curious and have fun conversations, and then help promote, businesses where I see them working and grinding. Like, there's a veteran-owned cookie company called Fire Baked Cookies they're less than a year old out of South Bend, and they're already in Meyer. Because they're making cookie mix. It's amazing. Like, they're growing so fast. It started where her husband was deployed overseas. She was baking, and she made the perfect batch of cookie mix. And now it's a company, and it's growing like a weed. It's amazing. Like, being able to tell those stories is super fun to me.
Is the Guinness Book of World Record pizza eater while running, is that an Indiana guy?
Yeah, so his name is Mike Cole. He owns a Greek's Pizza in Zionsville.
Okay, I was going to ask what pizza he was eating.
So he had a Greek's Pizza, and he's fast. Like he's a sub 3-hour marathoner without the pizza. He ran right around a 3:15 holding a pizza box for 26.2 miles. The previous record was 4 hours.
He smoked it.
Now the record is 3:15, which in marathon time is super fast.
There's an actual record for that before.
Yeah, he crushed it. I mean, and he came to me and was like, "I'm going to attempt this thing." And I was like, "If you're attempting to break any sort of world record, like I need to be involved."
Yeah.
So I just like followed him around, like got like
you're curious, like you're naturally curious.
So was the record for time to complete the marathon? Was there like some sort of balance?
He didn't have to eat the pizza. He just had to
carry the pizza.
Run a marathon,
a large pizza,
a large pizza box, and document the whole thing. So we had bikers behind him documenting the journey, and down in Columbus at the mill race. It was so fun. So it's just things like that where there's people doing cool stuff, and I want to be involved with it.
Yep.
And I love learning about these random, quirky, cool things that are happening in Indiana.
Dan, you've spent a lot of time in the marketing tech space, the MarTech space, both at enterprise companies, but also founding companies as well. So first one I'll mention, iGoDigital, an online recommendation platform that was acquired by ExactTarget. ExactTarget, of course, acquired by Salesforce. Then you started Sigstr, an email signature marketing platform acquired by Terminus. So lots of experience both in startup and enterprise. What got you started in the MarTech space? And then part two of that, as you've had successful exit, what kept you inspired to keep starting new businesses?
Yeah, I on the last part, that's probably the most important thing. I'm a down and to the right guy. Like literally every day that goes by in a company, I add less and less value. But in the early days, I'm really, really excited. And I love finding like, you know, the things I'm going to screw up and screwing up really fast and then focusing not on those, ditching those, and then finding the next thing. So I've just tried to find people that are more comfortable as the business gets older. And as those things intersect, they take the thing over and run it. Yeah. Like that's the key, is just knowing that I'm not very good. Like at ExactTarget, Scott Dorsey started it and took it public, sold it to Salesforce. Like that is an amazing human that can make that journey from startup to that sort of exit. I really love the startup side and just recognizing that that's where my value is. I've tried to find ways to do that. So I got into marketing because I landed in staffing right out of college, and it was technical staffing. I didn't know anything about technology, and I watched companies like Google replace GE as the largest company in market cap in the 2000s, and I was like, well, that seems cool. I should just do that. So I went to Ryan and Jeff, and I was like, I'm gonna start a tech company, and they're like, I thought that I would have to leave, and they were like, well, what do you need? I was like, I don't know. I think I need a little money and some office space, which is basically the foundation of any new startup, right? So we screwed something up really fast. I screwed something up really fast in 3 months and 10 grand.
Is that the calendar?
I was trying to automate a carbon copy time card
with
a captive customer. And I failed in 3 months with 10 grand because I didn't respect how hard it was to engineer a product. And I gave the engineer, I was like, here it is, just build it and I'll go sell it.
Yeah.
And it was totally my fault. Totally my fault. So then I came back to the Brooksource guys and I was like, I don't care what I do, I just got to find 2 people that can cover my blind spots. And so I found Brian Rowe and Matt Brown. They were working on something, plugging in a ratings and reviews widget to e-commerce websites. I was like, why do you want to do that? And they're like, so we can build a recommendation engine to predict what people want to buy next or click next or whatever. And so the next thing I knew, we were off on that journey, and we met Eric Tobias, and the rest is history. So then we did that again with Sigstr. I sat in the woods, built a log cabin, and I was like, okay, well, what should I do next? Should I do tech or non-tech? And I had a bunch of ideas. Went back to the Entrepreneurship Center at IU, and I was like, man, I want to make one more run at tech. And again, it didn't matter what we did. The idea doesn't matter, can't be bad. It's just about going and executing and learning. Yeah. And so that led me to Sigstr. After Sigstr, I did the same thing, tech or non-tech. Met 88 business owners that were doing non-tech things around Indianapolis. And I ran into some good mulch guys. And so I went from MarTech to mulch tech. Yeah. But seriously, talking about ARR and recurring revenue and unit economics and all the other things of mulch, like I could pitch mulch to a tech investor, but not tell them what I was doing. Right. And they'd be like, that sounds like an amazing business. Right. Like you have that much recurring revenue, that low a churn and whatever else. And I was like, yeah. They're like, what is it? I was like, mulch. And then they would go to the other side of the room.
I never thought about that. I mean, the revenue models are the same. The things that investors care about are the same.
The fundamentals of business are always the same. What's cool about tech is it's been scrutinized by really, really smart people and broken down to its very, very baseline level. And so we can learn from those people. So I wanted my 3 criteria getting out of tech were I want it to be local. So I didn't have to get on a plane and sell things to the coast. Yeah. I wanted my mom to be able to explain what it was. Because I was tired of email signature marketing, personalized product recommendations, whatever, man, it's mulch. Like, let's not overcomplicate the idea. And I wanted it to to be able to be profitable, to stand on its own two legs so that it can make the best decisions for the business. So that led me down the path of home services, and then NeighborServe is just sort of my capstone where it brings together tech and home services.
Yeah, well, that kind of gets into my next question. I mean, just kind of making the pivot or the move out of MarTech into more, tangible product services and companies like you mentioned, Holster and NeighborServe. I think you answered why you made that change. There's some really good rationale there. But in terms of NeighborServe, tell us about NeighborServe. How does it benefit local trade professionals and contractors? How does it benefit homeowners, and how are you making revenue off of it?
Yeah, great question. So we're a year into it. Like, literally, we just had our year birthday, and we had 50 contractors come by the humble office that Nate and I share. Just for our 1 year birthday party. And so, yeah, the foundation of it is I care about my neighbors, my friends, my family. Proximity matters in terms of your relationships. And my world tends to shrink the older I get. I want to hire local. I want to spend local. I want to go to the Golden Ace instead of, the chain Irish bar, right?
It just R.I.P. 9 Irish.
Yeah. It just means more to me. So that's cool. I get to help my friends and families. I think in doing that, I get to boost entrepreneurs. Indie-owned home services companies are the only people we recommend. So it's hard to take care of your home. We got kids, we're busy. Yeah. I got to take time off work. So how do I do that better? I think all of the models, this is the key. The business model has to align with what the market needs. Mm-hmm. I think the reason this problem hasn't been solved on Google or Nextdoor or whatever is because they're all national software companies. And nothing wrong with software, but I don't think it's the right model to solve this problem at a local level where trust matters, that I have somebody in my house. So the model matches with what I want to do. I get to help my neighbors and my friends, and in the whole process, I get to boost the small guy to beat the big guy. Yeah. I call it like a co-op. It's like a home services co-op. All the small guys getting together to go out and beat the big, farmer. And at the end of the day, it's the model, and it just kind of aligns to who we are.
What's your process in terms of reaching out to local trade pros and contractors and vetting them and really ensuring that you can put your stamp of approval on them for quality and trust?
Good question, because this has been done and tried to have been done for years. I mean, in Indianapolis, you had Angie's List in the early 2000s when I first had my first home, and it was great when it was local and small. And so the first thing that I would say is, like, if this company got bigger and they were acquired and went elsewhere like that I have to get over that trust hurdle and that gap that's there. Like, are they really saying no to people that want to pay them to get referred to homeowners? So we don't cold call anybody. They're all referred to us, either through our current neighbor clients or through the other pro members. They have to be 51% or more Indiana owned. And then at the end of the day, we just triangulate on, like, are you involved in the community? What are you doing to give back? Because if you own these local companies, you're hiring local people and you know their families. Yeah. If you're running a private equity firm somewhere rolling up HVAC companies, nothing wrong with that, but you're making decisions based on numbers on a spreadsheet. Yeah. And as a homeowner, that's not what works. So again, we have kind of flipped the model on its head to do things that are local, super curated. We say no to a ton of pros and revenue, and it's really hands-on. Yeah. It stinks because, like, sure, we'd love that revenue in the company, and it's a harder, grittier way to grow. Yeah. But watching, companies that have been around for 20 years, those are the kinds of decisions I think they have to make.
Yeah, to go check out, like, Broad Ripple Village, Little League. The banners, those are the companies he wants to work with, right? Like, if you're sponsoring a local soccer team or a local Little League team, like that's who.
Love Heating and Cooling, and HomeSense, and like all those companies that you don't really know, but their kids play on that team.
Yep.
So how is NeighborServe generating revenue? What's your model right now?
Yeah, so I believe the other thing that stinks is when the marketplace gets out of whack, and I'm only worried about the homeowner experience, or I'm only worried about the contractor experience. So we're trying to create a platform of mutual respect. Yeah. Treat people nice. If you don't, we might boot you. Kind of like, on the rideshare programs where you can rate the driver, but the driver can rate you. Mm-hmm. Right? So just, making sure that it's a place where people respect each other and we get things done. Revenue comes from both sides is the answer to that question. Okay. So, homeowner can sign up and hire locally owned pros and get better deals. So, you can do the very DIY version, or we can come to your house and just do it all for you. And then on the contractor side, they all pay $3,000 a year. That's going up next year. Again, simplicity. We just pick a number. Don't overcomplicate with a matrix of services and pricing. Right. Try to help first, prove yourself, and then we'll figure out the rest. If we're lucky, like, you got to survive as an entrepreneur, right? We're talking about all the fun things, but, like, building those early brands, if you don't help first and you have one bad experience and you don't react well, then your brand is toast. Yeah. So just trying to balance all that. Keep it simple.
Yeah, super low pressure, super cash, guys. No worries.
No
just
problem.
one bad experience and you're toast.
And that's not true.
Coming back to brand building though a little bit, I mean, you know, what we've been talking about today is just this purpose, this local purpose, giving back, connecting neighbors, doing the right thing for neighbors. What are you doing to build the brand, and what are your marketing efforts look like? Whether it's grassroots and referrals to paid, like what's unique about a local marketing strategy?
Well, it's hard because one of the things I never had to do in software is only geofence my world to Marion and Donut counties. Yeah. So now I've got to learn local marketing, and now I've got to find people that are homeowners. And so like, okay, well, where are they? Like, you got to start with the audience. So one of the first things we did was work with Nate, right? I'm not, you know, and in the very early days, we were an early customer. Now we'll be, as Nate's business has grown, just a traditional advertiser on the podcast because he's reaching Hoosiers. There's also what I'm passionate about is going out and finding local things. I don't want to charge the Golden Ace. I don't want to charge Lily Lane. Yeah. I don't want to charge Insomnia Mom, which is a really cool organization out of Zionsville that helps moms outsource parts of their lives. And so what I'd love to do is once a week, just be like, hey, put them on my website, Beyond Home Services. Here's some other local companies that you should support. And then I just want to write a quick blog or something. I know I'm 1985, but like, you know, what can I do on social media or what can I do elsewhere to elevate them a little bit? Again, help first, and then maybe they'll share that with their audience. Yeah. And so I think that's a hard snowball to get over the top of the mountain and rolling downhill. Yeah. So in the meantime, it's just doing things that, you know, don't scale, to use a software word term. It's just like going out hand-to-hand combat and finding people that I know and being like, hey, will you just give this a try? And did we help? And then could you tell your friends? Yeah. It's just service business there's no tricks. Yeah. It's do good work. If you screw something up, own it and make it right, and then ask for referrals.
Yep.
On the local marketing, or we're talking about local marketing.
Sure. Yeah, he's the guru on other ways to do it, because like
I just think
Nate's been really helpful on the other side.
If anyone was out there like trying to dominate a local market, it's like look at what everyone else is doing and don't do that. Yeah. Like it's every bar, restaurant, like it's all just noise, and it's the same thing. And where I see brands crushing it is having people like. Let's say there's like a really good bartender and you're like trying to market. It's like put them on don't just take a picture of so-and-so. It's like let them run the account for 2 or 3 months and like show your personality. Like that's gonna get people through the door versus like another Canva graphic that you're probably paying like your social media manager way too much money to create. Like go out and look at what's trending, and don't just like start doing TikTok dances, but look at like where you can get your yeah, right. But it's like, okay, if you ask a regular that's in there all the time to like play, I don't know, guess this beer trivia, you know, like just find some interesting campaigns that's different than what all your competitors are doing, because it's also noisy. Like right now, a lot of them are taking like memes or whatever. Like a lot of bars are trying to use CapCut and like overlay like some some green screen type thing, and it's all right. But I just think there's a way to look at what national trends are, what people are doing, and have a face to your brand. Mm-hmm. And I think that if there are local places having, whether it's an intern or the owner or whoever it is, like Sullivan's does a really good job.
Sullivan's is great.
Pat is like very, very best, and that's why. But they had to hammer out like 50 weeks of TikTok videos for them to like go viral, and now people like know them on TikTok. But it took like 50 years of convincing hardware employees to make funny videos and have their high school intern type hourly staff like, you know, dress up or do funny skits, and now it works.
No, I love that advice. Whatever the rest of the market is doing, don't do that.
Yeah.
Right? Find your unique niche.
And like the other thing you're really good at is like just commit to it. It's not going to happen with the first thing, the first advertisement you put out, first video you make, whatever.
No, it's like, I mean, I watch a lot of Mr. Beast because I just want to, he's just so captivating. And it's like he said, you want to grow, whether it's any type of following, post 100 videos. Yeah. Like I'm not even, like I'm a full-time podcaster, content creator, and I haven't even hit 100 podcasts. So I'm like, okay, I'm just getting started. Like you have to do this 100 times to learn what's going to grow. So it's like if you're, whatever it is,
which
post
I think
100
is why
reels.
people are scared to get started, whether it's starting a company or getting an Instagram following.
Yeah.
So you just got to start doing it and grind it out, and work will
and
show you
all
the
your
way.
friends and everyone, like everyone makes fun of you until they don't. Like my friends were like, I started posting videos and they're like, oh yeah, like here's a hidden gem. Now we get to go like do shit for free.
Right.
Like and they're all like, this is so cool. Like I walked down the street and someone's like, oh man, you're that guy from TikTok. And I'm like, oh, you still making fun of me now, guys? Like, oh yeah, wait, we're going to this for free. We got front row tickets to this. Like now they love it. But at first they were all like, oh yeah, Spangle
you got to
videos.
be humble, man.
Well, I wanted to jump in on that a little bit. I mean, I've been following your career, at PowderKeg, your on-stage presence, your charisma. Now you bring it to podcasts and all the content you're creating. I mean, you just have this authenticity and this energy, and it's infectious. Is that natural to you? How have you built this style and confidence over time?
Oh man. I have always been just like an overly optimistic person, like sometimes to my detriment. I think it came with comfortability. Like when I was an OR fellow at Apex Benefits, and I was just like always comfortable being me. Cause like I was never gonna be the big corporation guy. Like that's just not who I am. And I want people to know like, hey, when you meet Nate, and the other big thing is I didn't want to be an internet personality. Like when you meet me in person and like I sit down and talk with you, I hope that I'm the exact same person that you see online.
Right.
Sometimes he's like, I'm goofy, I tell bad dad jokes, like, but I do that in person too.
Yeah.
And I think just like, I got this overwhelming sense to this like, this is so generic, but like to seize every day. Like when back in 2017, unfortunately I lost my mom to cancer, and I had like gone through this battle and like seen her fighting there, and like I woke up and I was like kind of like a normal, I don't say normal person, but I was like very, very like, oh, whatever. Like I go to college, I like drink with my friends, like all this stuff, and then my life got flipped upside down, and I just like woke up and was like, I'm gonna make the most out of every day. And I'm gonna like pour into people and give as much as possible and do all these things. So like every day I live like a full life. Like in the past year, I like looked back and it's like, I like threw out a first pitch at a baseball game. I was the first car into the Indy 500. And like, I wanna have a storybook, like a dictionary's worth of stories by the time I'm 90 years old. And it like comes from this mentality of like, it's very, very precious, and I might as well just like bring 100% of me and give it all. That's where it came from.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it comes off very authentic, and like Dan said, like the person that we see on screen is the person that you actually are, and so yeah, I mean that's really.
So keep me honest. If I ever get to the point where it's like, Nate, you're acting like a jerk, like you got to call me out.
It's a balance doing what you do to remain humble. But like I just watch Nate, and like when I see him in the office, he's in the basement. He's my landlord, and then we're in the other spot, and I see
you have a better spot than him, and he's the landlord.
Well,
no, I have the best spot.
He has a great spot. He's got a sweet studio.
It's like, I had to set up the whole studio down there.
But he goes and like coaches wrestling at the high school around the corner, where my daughter goes randomly at Chittard. So like he's doing the gritty, humble things to like, because you got to balance like, hey, if you're going to be an influencer, how do you do it authentically and remain humble? I asked you that, like, and you've done a great job with it. That's hard.
Well, we've talked a lot about purpose today and local purpose. How important is it to you that you come up with a purpose that's going to in some way positively move the world forward, have real impact? And how do you decide on what that purpose is going to be in a way that's going to align with the culture that you're trying to build, with the teams that you're trying to build, but also your customers?
I think that this has been my true, I'll say like secret of like why I feel like I have momentum and going. That like everyone says like, how can I change the world? How can I get 1 million followers? How can I make $1 billion? And it's like, I shrunk that scope. I was like, I want to make a big impact in Indianapolis. And then from there, I was like, I want to make a big impact in Indiana. And that is so touchy-feely, like it's tangible. Like I can walk into Warsaw, Indiana, and like more than likely someone will have seen something that I've done about them, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, like you're promoting small business. And like when I talk about something, like my purpose is to promote these places in Indiana and tell these stories. And a lot of times, like if you sit there and when we're recording this, it's right around New Year's, right? Like so people are gonna set their resolutions, and you make it almost too big. It's like, okay, how am I gonna change the world with my career? Right. And it's like, how do we start with like changing your neighborhood? Like how can you be the best neighborhood HOA member, whatever that is? And like once you feel like I've made a positive impact there, how do you then expand that scope?
Yeah.
And then expand that scope. And then my goal is like once I've once I've like, okay, Indiana's rolling, like we're making big impacts here, the Hoosier State's rocking, then maybe we expand to the Midwest. But I just think a lot of times people just get so lost in how do I change the world that they forget to like change their family's day or change their own day. Yeah. And that's where I think this purpose matters, of finding a purpose that is where you don't get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, the two things that I just care a lot about. Small is greater than big. Like I can make a really big impact. If I take the world of like marathons, just to go to your example, it's really hard to be the fastest marathoner. It's really hard to be the fastest marathoner in Indiana. But maybe if I carry a pizza, I can win the damn Guinness Book of World Records. Yes. How can I continue to shrink the world until I can kick ass in whatever it is I'm doing? Yeah. Right. And so like proximity matters. It fuels trust. Small is greater than big. A collection of really, really small companies is much less fragile than one big company. And so, like, how can you do some things that make you? There's a book called Anti-Fragile that I think is, the guy has some crazy ideas, but he's got some really good ones. And just the idea of a bunch of small things working together can make a huge impact. Yeah. And so, one day at a time, one change at a time, and just start.
And I think that is like everyone wants. I feel like everyone wants to change the world. Yeah. But
I don't.
Not that many.
The older I get, the less I can.
Okay.
I almost want to put the blinders on and look at East Avalon Hills and then work my way on out.
But it's like all these
like
East
Avalon Hills contingent.
Like these the young entrepreneurs are. I want to go change the world and build $1 billion company. And it's like I want to do all this great stuff, but you're not willing to like wake up an hour earlier.
Can I say one other thing? Like I was enamored with growth earlier in my career. And faster, and growth. And so like balancing what I did in tech and raising a bunch of money to fuel top line revenue growth so that we could hire teams and do interesting things, like that is right for the right business model. But then I look back at companies that have been around for 20 years that you may never heard of. Rehab Medical in Indianapolis or 811 Group. They've been around 20 years and they're hundreds of millions in revenue and nearly 1,000 employees across the country. Yeah. And they did not shortcut for growth. And if you build things the right way, they're more durable. And growth is really important if it's right for the business and also for the team. Like growth creates opportunity for the team. So if you're working this thing and you're dominating Indiana and you got a teammate that maybe moved in from Michigan, why not send them back to Michigan or Ohio or Illinois or whatever and help them repeat the same process locally that helped you? So again, just because it's local doesn't mean it has to be small. NeighborServe doesn't have to stay in Indianapolis. We could hire a Cincinnati employee and repeat a local market in Cincinnati. But we're not going to 20 markets next year. We're going to go to 20 markets in 20 years if we figure it out locally first. So like growth is not a bad word, but like being gritty and like always worrying, like, am I doing the right thing, and being constrained by resources has been really good for NeighborServe.
Yeah, that's great advice. All right, let's finish this off with a little rapid fire round of all of our favorite things to do here in Indiana and across the state. First of all, what are our favorite things to do locally outdoors?
Okay, wait, should we do this like draft style? Where it's like someone gets 1-1, someone gets 1-2, someone gets 1-3, no repeats, and then we start on the other side? Is that allowable?
I'm going to allow it.
All right. So outdoor activities. Yeah. Dan, I'm going to give you 1-1.
All right.
You get to sit here for outdoor activities.
Yeah, I got, again, 45 minutes from Indianapolis. I'm going to say Lake Monroe and the Peninsula Trail. Super easy. Start there. 40-minute hike.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to choose it's a softball, but it's great. I have inspected every single inch of the Monon Trail. I have run the full from Sheridan to downtown at the garage. And my favorite outdoor place, get on the Monon. I would recommend if you're gonna bike, it has to be early in the morning or later in the evening. But if you're gonna run, walk, push a stroller, do all this stuff, the Monon is incredible. It's so easy, especially if you're like want to get a fast 5K. Hop on there, go up half, down half. Monon Trail.
All right. Am I in this too?
Oh yeah. Come on. What's yours?
Dan and I live really close to Fort Bend. I love Fort Bend. I love the golf there. I love the hiking there. Kids love going there, walking the dog, mountain biking. So I'm going to go Fort Bend.
All right, so with 1-3, we have Fort Bend. I love that. All right, what do you got for us?
All right, local watering hole.
Ooh. Okay, so I'll take 1-1, 1-2, 1-3. All right, favorite local watering hole in Indiana. I have 2. I'm going to give an indie recommendation.
Well, you can't have 2.
All right,
sorry, you can do whatever you want.
Well, okay, I'm going to give a non-Indianapolis one then.
All right.
Best local watering hole in the state of Indiana is Journey's End in Bourbon, Indiana.
Okay.
This is my
Okay.
hometown bar.
Okay.
1,200
All right.
people
Love
in the town of Bourbon. One stoplight, a pizza place, and a Subway.
Yeah.
But across the street
How
from the
long a
pizza
drive
place.
from here?
155.
Okay.
155 north, just south of South Bend.
Okay.
It would be east of Plymouth, west of
Yeah.
Warsaw.
Got it.
Town of Bourbon, Indiana. Journey's End. Go in there. Jim's the owner.
Jim.
He takes
Love it.
good care of the people.
All right.
They redid the food menu recently. Beer's like $2. A burger's like $8.
Yeah.
For
I love it.
$20, you can have a very forgettable night. Forgettable as in it's unforgettable.
Tell them Nate sent me.
Absolutely.
All right.
I love it.
You know, my two favorite places closed down recently, and it's such a bummer. Like the Wellington and
Welling's
Broad Ripple,
great.
I love.
Classic.
Where was that?
Just
Wellington?
in Broad Ripple, yeah.
Across from the fire station, sort of.
Yeah,
Oh, was it like diagonal?
Yeah.
it was.
you. Okay.
In McNiven's on Mass Avenue, I love that
great
spot
spot,
as
too.
well.
Yep.
But so I guess I don't know. Maybe the Alley Cat, talk about grit and just a
Wait,
fun night.
the original?
The new
The
Alley Cat or
original.
the old Alley Cat?
The old one, yeah.
The old one's great, but
old
it's
one.
only open at night past my bedtime, so
Right,
the new
right.
one I've had to
I'm
settle
sure.
a little bit.
Oh, there we go. Okay. 1-3 on the...
Golden Ace, man, old
Golden
Cyrus Pub
Ace,
in Indy,
yeah.
run by the McGinley family, East
Nice.
Washington Street, nothing else around it. It is class, pure authenticity.
It is hard to find the parking lot.
Yeah, you'll miss it.
You were 100%. The parking lot is interesting. You have to find it a little bit. Classic cathedral guy.
It's great.
Big cathedral guy over here.
Big guy with kids at Chittard. Yeah, so I love them both.
I live in Dan's neighborhood, and our entire neighborhood, they all went to Cathedral or Chittard.
Yeah.
That's fair. He's like, double agent now.
Devil agent. All right, local food. Am I first on this one?
Yep, you get 1-1.
Okay. I'm gonna go the Batali sandwich at Goose the Market on Delaware.
Yeah.
Nice.
Goose is underrated, I would say.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I'll go Capri.
Oh.
Okay.
Kind of off the beaten track, man. Kind of
Yeah.
swanky, but an old school bar, been around forever.
It's so interesting, right?
love
Because
that bar.
Capri is like up in
It's
off like
expensive,
it's off
it's
like
a
a strip
problem, it's
mall
great
too,
date-
or
great
it's off
date
like the
spot.
Walmart
Yeah.
parking lot, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, what? But then you go there and it's like a really, really nice
High
Italian
end
restaurant.
as far as indie goes. I mean, Mama Crow's is great too, but it's a great date spot.
It is.
Oh, okay. Food. When I bring someone new to Indianapolis that's never been here before, and we don't want to go like super upscale because obviously St. Elmo is like, you take them
right.
if you got the funds and you want to go do that, take them there, get the shrimp cocktail. But what I take someone to, I go to Half Liter. We get the big beers, we get the barbecue, the mac and cheese. It is
Sam's
phenomenal.
family restaurant,
Sam's
too.
family, and it's like great atmosphere. It's summer. You're hanging out in the back little area there, the little beer garden. It is phenomenal and a good like impression of Indy. You know, people go
that's
there
a
and
good
this
spot.
is pretty sweet.
Connected to the Monon.
Connected to the Mona.
Great spot. All right, as we're in the winter months here, favorite thing to do, that's a winter activity.
All right, I'll give you one, and this is it's just hilarious and totally like near Geist, near the nicest homes in Indianapolis. There's a place called the Indiana Gun Club where you can shoot skeet. So regardless of your stance on like weaponry, I'm not promoting for the NRA here or anything, but I'm just saying if you get a buddy and you go shoot some skeet at the gun club, you will laugh.
Okay.
You will laugh.
And they'll tell you what you're doing. Like you don't have to know what you're doing.
No, you show up and you're ready to rock. Indiana Gun Club, that's a really good one. We did that for a bachelor party and it was really
That's fun.
Just some guys being dudes. Winter activity. With the 1-2 pick, I'm going to select the toboggan run at
There
Pokagon
you go.
State Park.
Okay.
Which is like I feel like it's one of those, it's like French Lick.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that it exists.
I've never done it. I
but you
know
never
it's
done it.
exist.
But you know it exists. Like everyone knows French Lick exists,
Yeah.
but there's only a small subset of people that actually go down and do
Go
it.
down there, yeah.
I went down to French Lick, incredible. Go up to Pokagon State Park, pay the $20 to rent a toboggan for an hour, and rip that thing.
All right.
Super fun. Blue, the mascot, the Colts mascot, was just doing it. I mean, it's incredible. So much fun.
What do you got?
My number one.
Being a big skier, I will take Lawrenceburg, Indiana, Perfect North Slopes as my favorite winter activity.
love it.
Love
I
that
love
place.
That's a good one.
All right, last one. Local gem we don't know about.
Who went first? Whose turn is it?
I think Nate.
I think I have 1-1 on this. It's just so fitting, right? The hidden gem question that you don't know about. I've had a lot of people sit in the chair and tell me all sorts of hidden gems, from parks to pubs to the whole 9 yards. The one that I have not gone to yet, but I am the most excited to go to in the spring, is Bungee's Tavern.
That place rules.
In Perkinsville.
Yeah.
It is. I've heard it's just a spectacle, right? You go up there and you tailgate. You wait for a table to get ready. The food is incredible, but it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, all those things are true.
Like, where is Perkins? I don't even know. It's like near kind of Elwood-ish.
Northeast, I don't even know.
Like out past Pendleton Heights,
way up
somewhere
37 somewhere,
yeah,
I think.
It's somewhere up there. But
I've always been on a bus because I'm not driving home.
in the last maybe 2 months, I've had 3 people.
Yeah, Bungee's rules.
And I have not gone. So in the spring, I'm going to go up there, play the cornhole, tailgate, wait for my table, and do the whole thing. But I think that is a true Indiana hidden gem.
I have never been there, but I want to check it out.
Have you heard like people like talk about it
all
though?
the time?
Yeah.
Me?
1, 2. What's your hidden gem?
I don't know if it's a hidden gem or not because I live in the area where this location, where this business is located. But Kaplinger's fresh
the fish
seafood market.
Yeah.
Fresh fish there all the time. Fresh seafood.
They supply all the fish, I feel like, to the restaurants that are serving a decent seafood meal in Indiana.
Go in there.
Where's it at?
It's, what is it, 79th and Shadeland, 75th and Shadeland. Went in there one time and ordered a bunch of oysters, and they asked me, do you know how to shuck these? No, I have no idea. So they brought me back behind the counter, and they showed me how to shuck oysters and said, you think you know what you're doing now? Can you do it yourself, or do you want us to finish it off? I'm like, you guys just finish it off. I appreciate it, but I'm not going to be able to do this. But awesome place, really great food, good service.
Yeah, I'm gonna go totally off script. I think everybody probably does bars and restaurants and outdoor stuff. So I think it's really, really difficult, and people stress out a lot when you need a mechanic.
Yeah.
And I found 2 local dudes that used to work at the dealership and came to our neighborhood, walking distance from Gigi's, a pub I can hit if I drop the car off. It's called Diverse Motorworks. Yeah. And the 2 dudes in there have a clean garage. They know everything. And he's always like, hey, dude, fix these 3 things. You got to keep an eye out for those. I know you don't want to spend that money right now. And I know he's not ripping me off, man.
Nice.
And I can, coming from trying to do that in home services, find the local person that's not going to rip you off, that's going to do a great job. Like, that's what our job is, like, to have a mechanic like that. I keep sending everybody there. Now, my worry is that everybody starts going there.
Right.
And they can't fit me in, which is sort of the genuine problem with this world.
We'll edit that part out.
Victor at Diverse Autoworks.
Isn't it funny how it works like that? It's like you give away all your hidden gems, and then all of a sudden they're not gems anymore.
There's
a
line.
Like I get that so much. Like, why are you revealing this place?
So
like,
I bet nobody's ever given you a mechanic.
I like that.
I like it, yeah.
Those
That's
dudes
a good
rule.
one.
All right, final question. Appreciate you guys being here. Nate, we'll start with you. What impact do you hope that Get Indiana can really have on the state, and where can people go to learn more about what you're up to?
So, for starters, go to getindiana.com, follow @Nate Spangle on all the social medias, and subscribe on YouTube. I'm working on my 2025 goals to get more YouTube subscribers, so let's do that. The impact that I hope we have. I hope that over the course of the next 3 years, I'm currently 27. By the time I'm 30, I hope that we are producing videos and content that gets the entire country say, like, what is going on in Indiana? Like, I just keep seeing this guy and his friends and all this stuff. They're making these crazy cool videos. Like, Indiana looks really cool. And people want to travel here. They want to move here. Maybe not that many of them, but some of them want to move here. Yeah. And people just like look, and the perception of the Hoosier State changes. Yeah. Like, they look at it, they see it, and people from Chicago are like, man, I want to go like hang out in Indiana, go to Bungee's Tavern and do these cool things because this guy just keeps promoting it and it looks really,
Don't
really cool.
tell too many people. The hidden gem will get out, and then there'll be too many people here.
That's true. That's my goal. Yeah, I want to. Yeah, we want to. That's great. There'll be no more hidden gems. We're uncovering them all.
I love it.
Dan, impact you hope NeighborServe can have. Where can we find out more about it?
Yeah, great. So neighborserve.com. And at the end of the day, my litmus test of success is how many entrepreneurs did I help.
Yeah.
And I think we have an unfair platform to start a home services company in Indiana and help you go out and find customers as long as you're doing great work. So my goal would be that, in 5 years, these companies are buying and selling one another.
Yeah.
And that it's just easier to take care of your home and do the things you want to do in Indiana.
Yep.
Because you've got a great collection of entrepreneurs giving back to their community, hiring great people. I think that's a flywheel that could be really interesting.
Love it. Nate, Dan, thank you guys both so much for being here. A lot of fun. Had a great conversation. I know our audiences will learn a ton and hopefully help you guys grow your brands and all the great things you guys are doing here in Indiana. To our audiences, thanks again. Thanks for being here. We encourage you to go check out some previous episodes of The Mindful Bullhorn on our YouTube channel or on borshoff.biz. You can also hear the podcast versions on your favorite platform like Spotify or Apple, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.